And now, stay tuned for Overturning Justice with Raymond Mentor. The views and the opinions expressed on this show do not necessarily reflect those of KEPX management and staff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Overturning Justice Show with your host, Raymond Mentor. Yes, folks. My beloved audience, we're back, and there's so much to talk about. Yes, of course, that trial. We have to talk about that trial. Everyone was glued, or just about everyone was glued to their TV, just getting all this information about what goes on at a trial. But it's no way close to being a typical trial. And that's what we're going to discuss today. And we also have our world perspective. That's a different segment. And we're just going to touch on subjects that relating to international events. Okay. So stay tuned as we bring all the latest news and the information you will not get from your usual corporate media. Now, many of you have been following the trial of Kyle Rittenhouse, the 17-year-old kid who was being chased during a protest while toting an AR-15 style rifle, and who later shot 3 people during that same protest, killing 2 and wounding 1, which Kyle Rittenhouse claimed was in self-defense. Now, we're not going to take sides on this issue. That would be too easy for us. We need something more challenging than that. We are only going to highlight what we've discussed previously on this show before the trial even began. And it has to do with the absolute immunity prosecutors have. Yes. Now, like never before, both sides of this political spectrum, left and right, have something to say about prosecutors. Namely, how prosecutors are able to frame innocent people, how prosecutors are able to undermine the integrity of evidence at trial, how prosecutors are able to render a disservice to justice as they wish. So now, like I said, both sides of the political spectrum are saying how outrageous this is, that prosecutors are able to do all of this. Now, is this something new? No, of course not. This is something that happens each day, all the time. Prosecutors have been doing this forever. But the difference is now this one here is televised. And this is a trial which have polarized people. And so now there is one side saying, oh, no, this can't be. Prosecutors should not be able to get away with this. But many who are saying now that prosecutors should not be able to get away with this were not saying this before. Now it's their side who are getting this bad treatment, or what they perceive to be a bad treatment. Now, prosecutors should not be getting away with this. That's what they have to say. But when it was the other side who was suffering this bad treatment, this horrible, this unconstitutional treatment from prosecutors, right, they would deny it. They would deny it either out of ignorance, but many times it was denied out of malice and hatred for someone or a group of people. So if you hate someone, who cares if they receive bad treatment? Who cares if someone framed them for a crime that they've never committed? You might even go as far as to come with excuses as to why they were framed. You would say, well, maybe there's a reason, there's a good reason for framing them. Oh, well, you wouldn't say framing, but you would say, well, yeah, he or she had to have done something. And why would the prosecutor lie? Why would the prosecutor make such thing up? Yes. So when someone is denying something like that, a horrible treatment of someone, and you bring it to attention, and they are vehemently denying it, even if it's staring them right in the face, they are either denying it out of ignorance, or many, if not most of the time, out of malice and hatred. Because when you're seeing someone receiving this grave injustice, you cannot condone it. You cannot condone it. And if you condone it, that means you are, like I said, either horribly ignorant, or in most cases, you are just hating that person. You have such a deep hatred for that person or that group which that person belonged to. That's what it is. But when it's someone that you care for, you have something else to say. Now, all of a sudden, that same injustice that you were denying, you're crying about. You know, yeah. Because once the tables turn, now you're taking a different side. You're looking at things totally differently. No, that's not how it goes. Either prosecutors have been always doing this, or they have not. It's not all of a sudden in your case doing this trial, it suddenly started to happen. No. Yes, this was televised, but this is something that people have heard of time and time again. This is something that people have witnessed time and time again. But yet, they've been in denial about it. But there's a time when you cannot deny it, because it's going to affect either you or someone you deeply care about. So think about this, folks. What are they trying to achieve or to accomplish when they're actually trying to pull us, draw our concern towards the abuse, this injustice that's going on inside a courtroom. Are they just trying to pull us over to their side? Or are they actually trying to bring about a reform that would be equally beneficial to all, not just some, but to all? Now let us pause. Let us pause and ask ourselves, do we really want to hear this? Do we really want to hear how prosecutors are doing things that are unconstitutional? And are ruining the lives of innocent people, when thousands have been wrongfully convicted and are still being wrongfully convicted? But let us just talk about those who it came out that they were wrongfully convicted. Thousands. They were wrongfully convicted for a crime they never committed, or for acting in self-defense. Thousands. And now, and it's only now, they are crying about, oh, the prosecutor wants to wrongfully convict an innocent person, or they must recognize self-defense. No, we don't want to hear this, because we know this goes on all the time and it's not televised. But we know from our personal experience, or from the personal experience of loved ones, that this goes on over and over and over again. So now, should we be quick to say that this is going to ultimately lead to a reform, a significant reform in the justice system? No. I would advise you not to jump into that conclusion. What this will likely lead to is a form of tit for tat justice. And you heard this first from the Overturning Justice show. Yes, tit for tat justice. Again, you heard this first, and the Overturning Justice show. Just remember this. What is this tit for tat justice? Well, since the nation is already polarized, one side recognizes the self-defense in this case. Pretty soon, it's going to be another case where the other side is going to decide, and it's going to decide that self-defense in a way that's not going to be pleasing to the opposing side. You did it to us, or in the case that you care for, or for the person you cared about, now we're going to do it for a person that we care about. So that's what is meant by a tit-for-tat justice. You hurt our feelings today. In this case, we're going to hurt your feelings tomorrow. In another case, we're going to recognize this self-defense in a way that you won't like it. Just like you're saying that in this case of Kyle Wittenhouse, it's self-defense that transpired. It is actual felt self-defense. That's what the side or the winning side is saying. Now, again, we're not saying that they're right, or we're not saying that is wrong for them to feel that way. Again, we're not taking sides. We're just highlighting what we've been discussing on our previous show or shows. Namely, that absolute immunity has to go. Now you've heard it from both sides. Whereas before, you would never hear it coming from both sides. Now you are. So you are actually hearing it from both sides. That prosecutors ought not to get away with what they're getting away with inside a courtroom. Now, if you had been listening to Overturning Justice, or they'd been listening to Overturning Justice, they would not be shocked. Or they wouldn't even dare to show that they're shocked. Because it's been happening all along. All along, folks. But I'll say this again, folks. Remember that you heard this first and the Overturning Justice. That you're going to start seeing tit for tat justice. That's what's going to result from this. Tit for tat justice, which will very likely lead to more strife, more division, and can possibly lead to a civil war, a second civil war. No, don't be too surprised, because people are not just going to burn down buildings, are not just going to fire AR-15 rifles, vigilante style. That's going to be full-scale war. Yes, it is quite possible if we're going in this direction. Okay, we're about to enter our break. Stay tuned for more and KEPX Radio.
Vegas, where's the food? Right here at So Sinful Snacks and Treats. Make sure you get down to 4255 Dean Martin Drive, Suite G.
When is the end of COVID-19? Who knows? We're still in the middle of a global pandemic. There's still lots of uncertainty among us. There's no running from it. There's no getting away. So with that being said, let's continue to practice social distancing. Let's continue to practice good hand washing. Let's continue to teach our children best practices. Let's continue to do our part to fight COVID-19. This has been a public information announcement from Lady D TV and KEPX Radio. Overturning Justice by Raymond Mentor. Get your book on Amazon.com and join the Facebook group Overturning Justice. Overturning Justice, making a difference where it counts.
We're back, folks. We left off talking about a tit-for-tat justice that's going to follow the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. Now, this tit-for-tat justice is not going to be played out in your everyday trial. No. You're going to witness that tit-for-tat justice in another televised trial. And the issue is going to be, again, self-defense. But this time around, the side that has lost or came out as the losers in the Rittenhouse trial will make sure that they come out victorious. They will make sure that the opposing side that is laughing today and defending self-defense will eat their words. Will feel the pain. Yes, that is what we're going to witness. That is what America is going to witness. Now, is that what America wants? Or is that what is going to be in America's best interest? No. Because, as I've just said, this is not going to be played out in everyday trial. What America needs is true reform. And without true reform, the thousands who are suffering will keep on suffering from the injustice that goes on inside the courtroom. Because the tit-for-tat justice is just going to benefit a few, a small number, a small insignificant number when you compare it to the overwhelming number of people who are suffering as a result of the injustice that goes inside or that goes on inside the courtroom. Now, just think about how often you've heard the word facts during the Rittenhouse trial. Facts from either side. Facts. Well, like I said, this is nothing new. When you hear one side or either side complaining about how the trial went wrong. This shouldn't happen in the courtroom, or that shouldn't happen in the courtroom. It happens every day. Self-defense? Well, okay. You've seen a guy who brought up self-defense and got acquitted. But like I said, if you're offended by that, well, guess what? It happens every day. If you're offended by the fact that this case was even brought to trial, well, guess what? It happens every day. And we're not just saying this. I'm going to show you. Or if you're listening, I'm going to tell you. How this is something that happens every day by bringing up a news story. This is from the Times-Picayune of New Orleans, Louisiana. Now, this is the title. One of Louisiana's oldest incarcerated women is free. Prosecutors say she was wrongly convicted. Her name, Betty Jean Broad. It says here, she hugged her son after her release from prison. One of Louisiana's oldest incarcerated women, Broaden, was freed on Wednesday, May 12, 2021, after the Orleans Parish District Attorney's Office agreed that she was wrongfully convicted. Now, this is how this case went. And I read, one of Louisiana's oldest women serving a life sentence walked free after nearly 4 decades in prison on Wednesday, when prosecutors and a judge agreed that she never should have been convicted of killing a man she said tried to rape her in her Irish Channel apartment. Outside a women's prison near Baton Rouge, Betty Jean Broad threw her arms around the 52-year-old son with a vase of flowers, who waited 38 years for her release. Her son, now 52 years old. Rawdon, full name Betty Jean Broaden, 75, has long said that she shot in self-defense, but her pleas fell upon deaf ears until they were heard by a legal clinic dedicated to women and her situation, a sympathetic judge, and a new top prosecutor in New Orleans. So there we have it, folks. Self-defense. This woman spent 4 decades. And I'll mention the fact that she's an African-American woman. But again, we're not taking sides on this issue. We're not going to even go there. And you know what I mean by go there. This woman, 4 decades, she spent for self-defense. A self-defense that has been recognized, or was finally recognized after she spent 40 years. She's 75. Her son, now 52. 52. So her son was not even in his teens when she started doing time. So, like I said, self-defense that you saw or that got acquitted in this cat and mouse trial is not something that goes on every day. And here you have it. Yeah. It's been found that she justifiably used self-defense, but it was only recognized after she have already served 4 decades inside prison. So, what is tit for tat justice going to do for the majority? The majority suffering this every day. What we need, or what the public needs, is reform, broad reform, to end absolute immunity, to recognize self-defense, not in a handful televised cases, but in all cases where it's warranted. So, my beloved audience, you do not have to argue this from a racial lens. No, you can just allow the facts to bear it out. Just like I showed you in this last case from Louisiana. You do not have to argue this from a vigilante's lens. Just let the facts bear it out. Like I've just showed you in Louisiana's case. You want to talk about facts? That's facts. And there are many more facts just like that, that aren't televised. That aren't televised. And as I said, the tit for tat, it's not going to play out in cases like the case of that woman. No, the everyday cases, no. It's just going to benefit an exceptional few. Is that what America wants? Is that what America needs? Is that what you call justice? No, it's not. Now we should move on to our next segment called World Perspective, where we'll examine world events and provide an analysis. Let's see what we have here. Oh, okay. We have an article from the New York Times. The title, Kenya will impose widespread restrictions on the unvaccinated starting next month. This is from Nairobi, Kenya. Kenya will require people to show proof of coronavirus vaccination to enter many businesses, restaurants, and government offices starting next month. A major policy shift that has prompted outrage in a country where less than 5% of the total population is fully vaccinated. And it goes on to say, the new measure was swiftly criticized by lawyers, activists, and the public, who cautioned against a stringent vaccine mandate just weeks after the lifting of a long-standing nationwide night curfew that dampened economic activity. Sounds familiar? Vaccination campaigns in Kenya have been hampered by a lack of funding. There have been few awareness campaigns, nor are there widespread vaccination sites. The authorities at times have scrambled to access or purchase cold storage facilities needed to store the shots. Okay. And it further, if you read it further along, it says the new restrictions were met with skepticism, with many lamenting its impracticality. Some pointed to the low vaccination rates among the adult population, with just 8.8% of them fully vaccinated. Others said the mandate could open the door to more corruption, bribery, and proliferation of fake vaccine certificates. And at the end, it says, this proposal risks domesticating the global vaccine apartheid and creating those with rights and those without. I'm sure we've all heard of the protests against vaccine mandates going on in Europe and Australia. But this right here, the resistance against the vaccine mandates is going on in Africa itself. Yes, and the continent of Africa. Globally, we're starting to see the resistance growing as it's growing here in the US. And we see that it is a diverse resistance, meaning that people from all walks of life, are joining a global resistance. Just like in the US, you have doctors, lawyers, police, firemen, engineers, and scientists. And on the global scale, you even have nuclear scientists. Yes, nuclear scientists. So what that means, that if all the people are resistance, if all the people who are resisting were to join forces and seek to fight against the vaccine mandates, there would be quite a catastrophe in this world. Yes, because these people would be able to fight back on a very large scale. What do I mean? Meaning that even if it was to escalate into armed conflict, they would be able to inflict much damage. Even on a nuclear scale, because like I said, there is nuclear scientists among resistors. Yes, nuclear scientists. Now, I should mention, we even have a country, North Korea, refusing the vaccine mandates. So I'm not just making this up, folks. I'm not. This is serious, very, very serious. Now, how far is this going? Well, it depends on how far the vaccine pushes. And this case that I've just mentioned, it's global. So you can say the vaccine global cartel wants to push it. Yes, it depends on how far the vaccine global cartel wants to push this. So, in the case of North Korea, that's a nuclear country with nuclear scientists. Now, I want to share this article with you. It's from The Diplomat. And the title reads, "What's Behind North Korea's Extreme Vaccine Hesitancy?" North Korea is one of the few countries in the world not to have started a COVID-19 vaccine program. On October 7th, the World Health Organization said it had resumed shipments of COVID-19 supply or medical supplies to North Korea for the first time since January 2020. At the same time, North Korea has yet to receive vaccines to fight the pandemic and still officially reports 0 cases. The North recalcitrance to join the international vaccination effort is extreme. Like the iconic nighttime satellite image of a dark North Korea surrounded by a sea of light from South Korea and China. North Korea is a blank and global maps of national COVID-19 vaccination programs. As I've told you folks, the fight against the vaccine mandates or the vaccines altogether relating to COVID-19 is intense. The fight is intense. And as I've said, we're not making this up. As the article tells you, there is great resistance. It's not small and on any scale. But like I asked you, or we've wondered together, where or how far is this going? Let us take a look at another part of this earth, South America. I'll share another article with you. This one was from the BBC News, and it's about Guatemala. Guatemala, anti-vaccine villagers attack and hold nurses with COVID jabs. Anti-vaccine residents in a village in rural Guatemala have attacked nurses who were trying to administer COVID-19 jabs, holding them for 7 hours, officials say. About 500 people blocked a road and vandalized the team's car in the northern province. The 11 workers were released after police negotiated with the villagers, who destroyed about 50 vaccine doses. Authorities say online disinformation is feeding resistance to the vaccines. The nurses were verbally and physically attacked by the residents who let the air out of the workers' tires and destroyed the cool boxes storing the doses. the health minister said. I think we've had enough. So, again, more resistance. This time from a Central American country, Guatemala. We're not making this up, folks. The vaccine pushers are not going to have it easy. Not at all. They would have loved to, but they won't. Globally, the resistance is growing. So the resistors here in America are not alone. There are plenty of global support for them. And all this resistance going on now globally, what are they planning to do with the unvaccinated? How are they planning to label them? Because now we become the pariah of the world. Yes, the unvaccinated have become the pariah of the world. They're likely to soon label us terrorists. Yes, the unvaccinated may soon be labeled as terrorists, a threat to mankind. Don't be surprised, folks. Do not be surprised. So now, as terrorists, they'll have to track us down to the far reaches of the earth. Yes, they'll have to track the unvaccinated down to the far reaches of the earth because we are a threat to mankind's existence wherever we are. But folks, the unvaccinated should not despair because the truth will out. Yes, the truth will out. The truth about this vaccine, because there are a lot of secrecy surrounding it, a whole lot of secrecy. Now let's move on to our last and final segment. Okay, folks, what we're going to briefly discuss is the mental health crisis over here in America. What's happening here in America is the treatment of mental health patients as criminals. Yes, they are not treating mental health patients as mental health patients, but as criminals. So why are they not treating them properly? Because it is not in the government's best interest. Of course, they can say, oh, yes, well, we have clinics, we have medication for them. No. That will, at best, treat the symptoms for a while. But the underlying causes still remain. What are the underlying causes? The underlying causes are inequality, discrimination, the undermining of morality. These are the underlying causes, to name a few. And you could take a look back at history. Whenever a society had these issues as its underlying causes of mental health problems, and the society refuses to recognize it and subsequently address it, the society will begin to disintegrate alarmingly, as we're witnessing now over here in America. Yes, the social fabric in America is disintegrating. The cohesiveness that we knew in the past. Although, yes, America always had its issues, but it appears to everyone right now to be getting worse. Whatever cohesiveness was left is now disintegrating, falling apart, because these underlying issues have not been addressed. And as a result, they've gotten worse. They've made life worse for people living in this day and age. And what's the proof? Mental health. Because you could say, oh, the economy is great. We're experiencing more wealth than we've ever experienced before in our lifetime and man's history. Yes, you could say all that. But what will belie all these bogus claims are the mental health issues cropping up in people's faces. So all the bogus claims you've heard the government make about economic prosperity, unparalleled success, are being belied. But the rising cases of mental health problems. Now, as an excuse, they'll say, oh, it's drugs. Well, drugs are bought illegally, and drugs are prescribed. But drugs, medication, will only relieve the symptoms for a while. But the underlying causes of the illness, of the mental health crisis, still remains. That's what ought to be considered. So, in sum, does this mental health crisis spell the end of America, of American prosperity, hegemony? It very well could. Because now we're seeing all the violent outbreaks. But like I said, it is not your everyday criminal who are committing these violent crimes that are mind-boggling. It's people with diagnosed serious mental health issues. So the crime problem is really being blown out of proportion, because the greater problem is mental health. My beloved audience, we can continue. And we'd love to continue, but we're running out of time. So we'll meet again at this time, this day, and I hope that we all remain focused and do not let the government tell you any lie about the vaccines, about crime, about prosecutor immunity that we've discussed today. Stay tuned for our gospel hour following this show. So, my beloved audience, enjoy the rest of your evening. So long.
Hello, my name is Yvette Cologne, and I have a son that suffered from seizures. So I did a DNA test to see if me or his father's side, how he received his seizures. So upon me doing the ancestry DNA, I found out that it was a death index, meaning I had a death record and a birth certificate. I contacted Union Health Department and told them, I need to know if this is true. It was accurate. I do have a birth certificate that I was born September 5th, 1974, and died 10 hours later, which will be September 6th, 1974, in Union, New Jersey. Union Township is the county. The emotion was horrible. The first thing I thought was, oh my God, somebody actually stole me from a hospital. And this is so horrible. Like, who can do that to a child or to a mother? It's like, I need to know answers. I want to know answers. I know there's a lady out there who probably gave birth to me, thought I died, but I'm alive. I'm searching for her. So if you're out there, I am looking for you.
Lady D TV presents Open Casting Call. Coming to your city. Can you act? Are you a comedian? Can you dance? Do you think you have all the moves? Can you sing? Or can you do all of the above? If you're interested in seeing what's going on at Lady D TV and being a part of some great videos, give us a call, 619-301-4467. Overturning Justice by Raymond Mentor. Get your book on Amazon.com and join the Facebook group Overturning Justice. Overturning Justice, making a difference where it counts. When is the end of COVID-19? Who knows? We're still in the middle of a global pandemic. There's still lots of uncertainty among us. There's no running from it. There's no getting away. So with that being said, let's continue to practice social distancing. Let's continue to practice good hand washing. Let's continue to teach our children best practices. Let's continue to do our part to fight COVID-19. This has been a public information announcement from Lady D TV and KEPX Radio.
Vegas, where's the food? Right here at So Sinful Snacks and Treats. Make sure you get down to 4255 Dean Martin Drive, Suite G, and put your order in at So Sinful Snacks and Treats. Try out our new steam bowls or our delicious homestyle barbecue. Either way, you're going to love something at So Sinful Snacks and Treats. Now available on Uber Eats and DoorDash. Order today.
Overturning Justice by Raymond Mentor. Get your book on Amazon.com and join the Facebook group Overturning Justice. Overturning Justice, making a difference where it counts.